music. Oh, we're not doing that. No, do that again. Do yours. And do yours at the same time. Just pick up. Bow now. Bow now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rubber City Throwdown, the official Voices of Honor Fighting Championship. We are going to talk about the results today. That was a hell of a show, man.
Big show.
Oh, I've got heartburn from it.
Stressful, but
Yeah, heartburn
really
from that
good
blooming
show.
onion.
No, that was 2 days ago. I have heartburn from the pizza roll melt, also known as a cowabunga, from Melt. That was awesome, dude.
A lot of cheese.
Oh my god.
I had the macaroni and cheese one with extra cheese and bacon. That took me like 12 hours.
And then they
to eat.
scraped off the fucking Parmesan off the top of it.
Yeah.
So all the cheeses except for Parmesan.
This was a fun event. This is the
It
first
was.
time that we were actively involved in like the setup and the teardown, and
The overall running of the...
it's pretty exhausting, man. Like, I hats off to the guys who actually get out there and run the show and everything that happens behind the scenes. Because, like, we were there. We went to Cleveland with Jeremy and Brian and Dave Myers to do like street promotion. So I got an opportunity to go up there and get some footage of that and experience what that was like. And then we did the teardown at Apex Flight Systems gym, that's where the cage was at. We did the teardown there, loaded up the trailer.
And where is Apex Fight Systems located anyways?
21 North Arlington Street in Akron, Ohio, but not quite ready for people just to walk in the door. Yeah. Unsanctioned plug. No.
Unsanctioned plug.
No, we're getting stuff built this week, but September 15th when we're looking.
I actually
doors open,
asked,
so.
not for the podcast, but I actually, because I don't know where it's at.
I can't just tell you and not tell everyone else.
Right.
No, it's actually it's coming together, man. Like
We don't talk about Fight Club.
the Apex is coming together real nicely, man. It's 9,000 square feet of space. We have the Honor cage that's going to be in there. We're also getting 2 rings. We got a wrestling ring for the OCW Spine Buster Academy, and then we're getting a boxing ring. So you're just going to walk in, there's going to be 2 goddamn rings and a cage just sitting in there. So it's going to be
Mats
fun.
and-
Yeah, mats everywhere. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait till the building and the gym is actually up and running.
So you mean I'm going to have to
so-
change my name or just use my last name whenever I walk in there? Just a ton of mats everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
As
not
long
like
as you're not laying down. No,
Didn't
but,
you know that's my signature?
but as far as like the setup, a lot of people will, if they're ignorant to it, they don't know what goes into setting up, especially a show like Nautica. It's hard. It's the hardest show to
realize
do.
that.
It's especially when you only have 6 people. It's hard to get people to work the shows because it's all day, all night.
Right.
Sometimes 2 days in a row, like
hell,
this weekend.
I know that me and my wife left at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, didn't get back to our hotel until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
You guys were still there.
We didn't get home until 3:30. I almost fell asleep driving home from Cleveland.
why I
The
told you
wife
you
and
could-
KO were already passed out.
KO was passed out before the show started.
He was sleepwalking. Like, we gotta go.
I'm pretty sure he was he fell asleep while carrying one of the planks to the cage back to the
Is that
trailer
what that
we were
was?
tearing down one of the wooden boards.
I was trying to figure out what he was doing when his head was tilted
He was
back.
just- he was just
his
walking,
jaw was
like-
down and his head was backwards, and he was walking like this.
But it was fun, man. Like they said, we tore down the cage, loaded it up at Apex, and then the next day, bright and early in Cleveland, we went up there and we set everything up: the cage, tables, chairs. I wasn't there for the tables and chairs. I had to get back because I had the kids. But when we got there, you saw the finished product. Jimmy had come in and set up the lights, the towers. They had the chairs, the tables. They set up the cage, which was a friggin' nightmare for a little bit because they had to level the cage because it was on a slant. So me and George are underneath the cage, leg pressing the damn thing up in the air so people can like slide plywood underneath it just to level. It was fun though, man. It was hard work. And it was definitely fun. And if you guys if anyone is interested,
I was under there holding the middle part and it pinched my nipple. It still hurts. That's why I was like, I'm out. I got other shit to do.
How is that you're the only one out of the whole crew that gets molested by the equipment?
some D
I'm
cups.
more familiar with it. I don't know.
But no, you guys are right, 100%. I came in there, you know, Jimmy, what's his last name?
Carter?
Carter. Why can't I remember that? Jimmy Carter.
Or Crater?
I don't know. But anyways, Jimmy Carter does a phenomenal job with what he does for the organization, and I got to be the guinea pig for the most part of, you know, him coming in, setting up all the lighting and everything, and running the tunnel for him. And I could not be more enthusiastic about about what I was able to bring to Honor that night, and I had so much fun.
Yeah, it was definitely a
Until
good time.
breakdown.
Yeah. That's fun during the event, and then it's like making a mess in your room and then having to clean it up afterwards. The cleanup's never fun.
Like,
so.
setup's always tough, but you have all day to recover. It's always a teardown. It's like,
Dude, I was trying to sleep, and then my alarm goes off, and it was like, oh, it's time for the podcast. I was like, no, I'm calling Norm. I'm calling off.
Calling off today. Done.
Calling off today.
Now, if anyone's interested in actually seeing what went into setting up, head on over to the Rubber City Throwdown site or the Facebook page and check out the vlog series, episode 3, Road to Nautica. And there's a time lapse in that video where it just shows the teardown and the setup and then the final product of what we ended up doing and of the show. So,
Yeah, man. So let's backtrack just a little bit, and let's go to probably about 4:30 in the afternoon yesterday. Let's start there.
So that would have been right in the middle of the fighter meeting.
Was it 4:30?
Well, the fighter, yeah, it was about
Was it?
4:35
Yeah.
when I had the fighter meeting.
Okay, I was talking about Melt, but all right. Anyways, no,
that's probably like at 3:30 when everybody was out eating.
Yeah.
no. You left at 3 to go eat.
No, I was still taping everything together. When all you guys got back, then I left.
No. So let's go with, you know, the final product was there. Everybody was excited, and then we start the fights. Who was the first?
It was the first fight was Tristan Constant and Mike Webb. I mean, this show was good. It was a good show. I'll be honest, not as many people as I anticipated. I thought there'd be a lot more. Maybe it's just because the venue was so big.
I'm thinking it was so big because, dude,
I mean, there was a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of people.
There was a lot of
I'm
traffic
they did
walking
well.
around,
I'm
too.
just saying, like, when I would turn around from the commentary table to look around, there's a lot of empty seats, and maybe it was because people were taking off after specific fighters were fighting, and it happens. But because when you look at the main event, the Alexa fight, you look at the stands, and it was just really bare, real empty, and you're like, oh man! But that was because everybody went from the stands down to the tables where people were actively going.
And I think a lot of that because some of the people that sold a lot of tickets, their guy didn't win.
yeah, and then they just went,
bailed.
Fuck this!
You know.
We're not staying for the rest.
He got his money right. As long as he gets his
And
money.
there's always full lines, all the concessions, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
because GA is bleachers or standing, you'll have people
Right.
Yeah.
standing along the bike rails, just
You know,
checking
from
it out.
where I was located at, you know, you were on the floor, you were running around like a chicken with your head cut off, so I don't expect you to be able to get a good head count. So, you know, standing up on the stage next to the tunnel, you know, I look out and I saw something completely different.
Right.
I saw something that would never be able to happen in this caliber this fast for an organization. I mean, there had to have been at least 3,000 people. At least.
I don't
That's
know if there was that
5,000
many people.
That's 5,000 in the venue itself can hold 5,000 people, right?
That's 5,000 people. There's nothing on the floor. You have the bleachers and all the room on
Okay.
the floor. So you fill it with a cage and then tables. Our max capacity is probably 3,800-ish.
Okay.
Right.
I was looking out and I saw the general admission bleachers halfway full.
Yeah.
You know, the whole floor was full of people. There was nobody sitting still at any point in time. So I think, overall, Honor pulled a good W off of this as a
absolutely.
whole.
Absolutely.
I say Brian would know more about that than we would. So as far as
looking at it from Honor, it was a complete success.
Right.
You know, except for some things that happened during the fight.
there were some
stuff,
pros and there were some cons, and we'll get a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that, like the further we get into the show.
But as far as, you know, attendance or, you know, how the show went over, 10 out of 10.
You know, and this is also one of those shows that we had something that happened that normally doesn't happen. all of the fights, every single fight that was rostered for this card, we normally lose 2 to 3 to 4 fights every card. We didn't lose a damn one.
It's close. But
we had at least one fight that was real close.
But dude came out
And then
and he showed his heart. I'm
He
telling you.
ended up making the weight, and but yeah, all 16 fights were a go, which was awesome, you know. And there were some
awesome.
It was awesome. No, it was some good fights. Well, let's get into the first one. Tristan Constant and Mike Webb. This one, like, I got a chance to talk to both of these guys, but I was really focused on Webb. You know, his first fight, he lost TKO or knockout. I think it was considered a knockout. Yeah. 10 seconds was officially listed. I think it was like 8 or something like that. But he had fought Tyron Reed at Reaching the Summit. He caught a recoil jab or like a rocker step. Jab, rocker step, right straight. Yep. And it put him down. There was a controversial short stoppage. A lot of people were like, oh, it's called too soon. I mean, I told Mike right there, I said, it may have been early, but within 5 seconds, do you think you would have recovered in time to actually make a difference? I think that the same outcome would have happened. It would have just been a little bit longer than 8 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever. But
if you watch yourself on film and you fold up like an accordion straight down, I mean, what do you expect the ref to do?
Yeah,
right.
And then Tristan, so then you look at him and you go, you know, this guy, his first fight was a little bit different. It ended in the second round. He went up against a strong wrestler, a guy who's, you know, who's got some wins under his belt, you know. And so you expected Tristan to be like the more experienced fighter or like the better fighter in a way. And not to mention Mike Webb, he was training with Justin Meese in a garage. And he goes, well, I'm not training with Justin anymore, but I'm still training in a garage.
Which is okay.
But he doesn't have, like, I guess he's got a guy now that kind of knows a little bit of what he's doing. I mean, and this is his words. He's like, I don't really know much, but I know a little bit. And what I know, I'm teaching him. But he's focusing more on, like, cardio and conditioning. And I was kind of going through, and I was like, you know, as an early amateur, I was like, I firmly believe that you should probably train for your opponent rather than try to become like a complete mixed martial artist like your second fight in.
Right.
You know, if you're fighting a guy who's really strong on wrestling and you're afraid of being taken to the ground, work on takedown defense. If you're weak at submissions, work on submission defense. Don't try to be like a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on day one. Learn how to defeat the fighter that your opponent rather than try to defeat everybody.
Study your fight before you go in.
You gotta figure out what you're good at, what you're not, and what they're good at.
Exactly.
And then determine your weaknesses.
Game planning 101. That's what it is. You know, starting off with cardio, not a bad idea, but if you're not training with the right people, you don't know what your reaction is when you get hit in a fight, not in practice. Like, you know, everyone's like, oh, you spar hard and you go, but you're still sparring with your teammates.
Right.
You know,
nobody's out there to beat you.
It's different. Like, the mindset is different. Your reactions are different.
Right.
And I think that's, you know, you're in a garage with a heavy bag and a coach.
That heavy bag doesn't hit back.
Right. And it's a different animal. You know, like you say, you have practice all-stars. Right. And then when they get in the competition, it's not the same person.
It's just like taking a test. You know, you could be flying through the freaking bookwork, and then all of a sudden it's time for a test, and you completely flub it because you freeze up. I agree.
And when you're new, unless you have, you know, a developed skill in something from, you know, youth, you know, as you grow,
right?
It's MMA is hard. It's not easy to do. It's not easy. It's not fun to practice. It's hard.
You train MMA?
Well, the good news is that Mike Webb tripled his fight time since his first fight. The bad news is, unfortunately, Mike Webb lost in the first round in 28 seconds by technical knockout or TKO.
Which our
so
wives
congratulations to Tristan Constant. He got his first win last night, you know, and knowing Tristan's story, it's good to see that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Tristan is a very humble competitor. He
actually sent us a message today.
Yeah, he did. He sent me a message. He sent us a message on Rubber City Throwdown's
you can
Facebook.
say you. It's okay.
And it was just like, hey, man, good set of fights, huh? And he said in his interview, he goes, you know, I'm the first fight. I want to set the tempo. It's up to me to set the pace of the night. And he
you know,
set the pace.
That came out of nowhere, too. And he definitely brought that out, and when I heard it, I was like, whoa.
Well, this is also
Where'd
the
that
guy.
come from?
This is also the guy that wants to help starving children
Right.
in third world countries. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I mean, you can only this is you would expect it from a guy like this, and but yeah, no, he said he goes, I'm going to set the tempo tonight, and he set the tempo. 28-second knockout in the first round.
Dude.
Definitely
And
set the.
what impressed
tone
me
for the
about
night.
that fight, like when I came out, I saw that wasn't a knockout, wasn't any skill. Is when I looked up in his eyes right before he got that knockout TKO, he was patient and waited to pick that shot, not just rushing in, throwing wild punches.
Right.
And Tristan's also an independent fighter as well.
Yeah.
So he's not associated with any reputable gym. He might bounce around. I never really got into too much detail as to what he actually does for training, like I did with Webb. But maybe something to bring up to him, maybe at the next interview.
We've got
or
a couple
message him or
of
something.
fighters that I would like to get a little bit more of an in-depth talk with.
All of them.
Yeah, well, pretty much. I mean,
Well, guys that we already don't know.
yeah. I mean, there was so many good ones. Let's let's see, Marvin Rolls.
Yeah,
right?
moving on to the next one. Marvin Rolls defeats Roy Nichols by unanimous decision. I know there was a slight controversy over this. I know some people think that it should have been a draw. Personally, I agree with the decision. Both fighters went out there and put it all on the line. Personally, I'd rather take a loss than a draw. I mean, that's always me, though. I don't like that shit. I hate draws. I hate no contest, and I hate draws. I'd rather take the L. I don't want any excuse to look at my friends and family and go, "Oh, it was a draw, so
We're fighting again.
I don't want that. I'm good, man.
We
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
come, but they said that we got to come back and try it again, but we couldn't do the mulligan today.
But Roy Nichols, man, I was talking to him in the pre-fight, man. I was like, dude, you're constantly improving. Your wrestling's getting better. And when I was commentating his fight, I was calling his fight, I was like, look for the takedown, watch for the takedown, and level change. Marvin was definitely winning the stand-up. And Roy did what you would expect him to do. He was losing the stand-up. He decided to go in, shoot in, and he got some good double leg takedowns. And he fought for the position, too. He had him press up against the cage. Sometimes 20, 30 seconds, and right when you would expect a fighter to just release it and go for another position, he pulls him off, he pulls that leg off, he locks his hands, he kind of, gets in a better position, and then he just kept fighting for it, kept fighting for it, and eventually got it. And that's where the controversy comes in is, he was taking him down, but was he doing enough on the ground in the eyes of the judges?
And that's what I was thinking, too, is because, he had from where I was sitting, to me, he had more ground control throughout the rounds than I thought.
But then Marvin was really heavily
Exactly.
active on the ground as well, where Roy wasn't necessarily going for too many submissions, where Marvin was constantly throwing fists. He was constantly moving. He was constantly working. The referee did stand it up a couple times, but I believe he stood up a couple times. But
I think there was
it was right
once.
back to the ground, shortly after that. So, but no, yeah, congratulations to Marvin. I know Roy wants to. He wants to try to go pro. And I
It
feel like
sets him
this
back a little
fight
bit.
was kind of like a sense of urgency for him. Like he really wanted to win this fight. He was getting ready to put in his pro application if he would have won this fight. It was his 9th fight. He would have had the winning record, and he's 35 years old, so we're getting to that point in his career now where that he's going to need those extra physicals, the CAT scans, and after talking to him, his doctor actually won't even approve of him getting a CAT scan because they don't see the point in doing all the testing for what they're asking, for what the commission is asking. So he's actually got to try to link up with another doctor. And actually, Nicole Castillo actually told him, gave him a doctor in Columbus that would do it for him. But he was getting really good. Now losing this fight puts him at 4-5. So now he's got to win not only one, he's got 2. He's got to win 2 to get that winning record. So it's he's got to really pick and choose who he fights at this point.
If he gets a win, there's a chance you can go pro at 5-5.
Can you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's individually based. Like there's a rule 9 fights, winning record, but you can appeal anything they make. You can drive to Youngstown and talk to Bernie Bravado in person, and that this is why I want to go pro. Explain your side, and you know that's I saw Breckner went pro.
Right.
You know, he was, you know, shot down, couldn't do it. They went and talked to him. It's hard enough to find a fight. All right, go pro. So you just have to, you know, be prepared.
Did Brashear have to go and do that too, or I think that
No,
was Brashear.
after that last amateur fight.
Oh, that's right. He had 2
when he
titles.
won the title. After that, he was good.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Well, moving on, let's talk about Tyree Johnson defeating Stacy Jordan. This was like,
Man,
dude, okay, Tyree was losing this fight.
and then okay,
I thought oh man, I'm running around, right, and I love Tyree, so I look up and I see him get hit and nosedive.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, I
Not
had to
once,
keep
but
running.
twice.
And I look back again, boom, nosedive, and I'm like, that just
Well,
happened.
now the first-
that just happened
after
before.
seeing the replay,
Deja vu?
We watched the replay a couple times at the commentary table, and that first one, we actually don't even know what the hell happened. It looked like he initially got caught with a right uppercut, moving in on him, and he face planted. You saw his head bounce off the canvas, but he didn't actually get hit with the right uppercut. He threw it, and it's almost like he caught like the forearm or the wrist on the way in. So I'm not even entirely sure that he was like it was a flash knockout, or if he just happened to get, you know, he got hit off balance, slipped or something, he fell, but he face plant. That was the one where I feel that he was the most hurt. The second one, he got dropped, but he was immediately like fighting for position.
I mean,
and
he went straight to his side right after he hit the ground.
And I give it up. No, I do. I give it up to the referee. Okay, if this would have been another fighter with less experience, I don't think this fight continues. Because not once but twice, I mean, even during the commentary, I was like, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, fight is going to be over. He's going to stop it now. Just because I've seen so many of these fights get stopped at that moment, he let it go. And he gave Tyree the opportunity. He gave him the chance to better the position, and he did.
I mean, in all honesty, the way that it looked from where I was sitting, which you're going to hear that a lot from me tonight because I was actually kind of far back but still close. When he went down, it wasn't like a typical knockout pose. As soon as he hit the ground, it's like he immediately woke back up.
He had a flash knockout,
Right.
And he quickly, and that's where that experience comes into play. Yeah,
He immediately moved to let the ref know that, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah.
You've got me.
When he realized when he came to, a half second later, he realized that he was on the ground and oh shit, and he immediately started fighting to defend. And like I said, I'm really glad that the referee let that go because typically they don't let those go.
Yeah.
Right.
They stop them, and that fight could have been stopped twice. So
Well, okay, so this fight, it was actually done in the interview, so I'm allowed to say it, because the fighter said it. So our fighter Stacy, he's Tyree's opponent. He actually jumped up in weight a dramatic amount, and to see the amount that he actually didn't suffer from that. He was still.
I mean, Stacey Jordan only weighed in at 215 pounds. I mean, Tyree weighed in at 225, and Tyree doesn't even really fight at heavyweight. Actually, you know, he will take heavyweight fights, but like
That was a late addition to the card.
Yeah.
You know, instead of having him cut weight and
yeah, I mean, shit.
in what 2 weeks.
Right.
Oh, was it a 2-week add-on?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I mean, the dude. I mean, Stacey was probably already like 210, 215 already, maybe even been 220. And they were like, screw it, man. We don't want you to have to cut. We don't want to cut to 204. Tyree's like, hey, man, I'm already 225. I don't give a shit.
Sounds good to me.
We'll just do it.
Well, I asked him in the interview. The only reason why I bring it up is because I asked him in the interview, and it clearly showed in the actual fight tonight, that night, was, you know, what do you think is going to suffer more? Do you think it's going to be your cardio, or do you think it's going to be your endurance? Which one do you think is going to be? And he pretty much said, we're going to find out. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to be slower. I don't know if I'm going to be gassed out faster. I don't know. We're going to find out.
See, when they're only cutting 10 to 15 pounds, there's really not going to be that much of an effect.
Okay.
You know, because I mean, if you're most heavyweight fighters, they can lose up to 10 pounds in 1 day of cardio, just water weight,
Right.
just shredding out.
Yeah, we'll talk about that with Marvin Skipper a little later. That guy, holy shit.
Oh, that's right. He's the one that did something. Did something pretty amazing.
But congratulations to Tyree Johnson for winning that fight against Stacey Jordan. He actually locked in the Americana in round 3, 1 minute and 32 seconds in round number 3, and he got it so quick, man. It was one of those like he saw it. He grabbed the hand and immediately, and then just as soon as he locked it, he cranked it. He got it so fast that Stacey had to do a verbal tap out. He didn't have time to actually tap out. That's how quick that Tyree was able to get that submission and crank the arm. So
that's the second fight in a row for Tyree where, when you're watching, you thought it was going to be over, and then it wasn't, and then he ends up winning.
Now this that's a common thing for him.
It happened
right?
with James Neff too, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I was saying, it's like it was back and forth. Thought, is this it? But hey, all heart, it's tough. I'm waiting for him to apply to be a pro, start getting paid for fights. And
Well, first things first, he was kind of upset because Norm did not do his post-fight interview.
Yeah, because Norm was told to not interview fighters that went more than the second round to time restraint. So I'll be making a post about that later, apologizing to all the fighters that I wasn't able to get up there and get the post fights for. But Tyree, if you're watching, it has nothing personal, my dude. I gotta same
Norm
thing.
was too busy for you, brother.
No, same thing with Drew Dixon, man. That was
the show got a late start
Right.
because of the bands and everything. And if we would have done those interviews, we'd had fights till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
No, I heard about that. No.
Yeah, yeah. So nothing personal. It's just business sometimes. But if you didn't get an interview, message Rubber City Throwdown. Maybe we'll try and do a Skype one.
Right. But moving on to our next fight, man. This guy, Brogan Endres, and Chris Shemek. I think that's how they actually pronounce it, Shemek.
We can't go by what Josh Sign says.
Both of these guys, okay, so Brogan, let's start with Brogan. He's been a wrestler since the 3rd grade. He's been doing judo since he's 6 years old. He's a brown belt in judo. He's got international wrestling experience. He's been competing since a very young age. He's no stranger to the big stage. No stranger to being in the spotlight. He's a college wrestler. And then you have Chris, who's a 3-time All-American wrestler. He went to Niagara County Community College, and then he transferred over to Ithaca, where he wrestled. And yeah, again, he was a 3-time All-American wrestler. His wife got pregnant. He decided to drop out and become a family man. And then when I asked him, I said, "So why MMA?" And he said, "Well, I feel like I failed at wrestling, or I feel that I failed at college. Maybe not necessarily. I won't say failed.
Unsuccessful.
Yeah, he missed out. He
Yeah.
feels that he missed out on an opportunity while he was in
He was
college.
let down, let himself down.
So MMA is the next best thing. Now, looking at this kid, seeing him in person, because he's from Jamestown, New York, so it's not like we've ever seen this guy. He's making his debut. Coming in, this guy looks in shape. This guy is ripped. He looks in shape. You can tell that this kid is a wrestler. He looks like an athlete. Okay.
Right.
So already we're like, oh man, this is going to be a very competitive match. And yeah, it was. Arguably, you could make an argument that he was winning in the first round. Arguably, both guys do. Yeah, so this is what surprised me too. I had made comments about Brogan's striking. Said that where he's at right now as an amateur, he's got okay striking. But if you look at it on a greater scale, his striking is really not that great.
Right.
Okay, he's a judo guy. He's a wrestler. The ground is his world. He actually caught him with a couple good punches, man. It actually set him up real nice. I was really surprised. I mean, both guys caught each other a couple times. Round number 1, they were on the stand-up for a little bit. They exchanged some punches before Chris decided to take him to the ground or shoot in on him. But I'd say, arguably, you could say that Chris may have won that first round. It was close. You could say that he won it. In the second round, we expected the same thing at that point, that Chris, we saw what Chris had to offer in the first. He was going to take him down in the second. And yeah, man, like you could see, like the difference was that Chris is a wrestler and Brogan is both a wrestler and a judo guy.
Judoku.
And when
Judoku?
Brogan went to the ground, you immediately saw the wheels turning. He immediately started transitioning, going for submissions, and he ended up finishing Chris in the second round, 2 minutes and 9 seconds in the second round, by an inverted triangle. Wrestlers who just started MMA don't know what that shit is. Okay, you don't know what an inverted. I mean, okay, and just to put it a little bit more into perspective, he had an inverted triangle while going for a Kimura at the same, or Americana. No, it was a Kimura. I think he was going for a Kimura at the same time. He had the triangle, and then over here he's working this. So not only is Chris trying to defend off two submissions at the same exact time,
right.
And while he's working the arm, he's tightening that triangle in. Now Jose thought that he didn't actually. He felt that Brogan should have been reaching down and grabbing the foot and pulling the foot in closer to solidify that choke. But I mean, obviously Brogan was doing something right, because he ended up getting.
He was distracting his opponent
because of the inverted triangle. Yeah. So, but I mean, and that's the difference. You know, you get guys. It's like chain wrestlers. You know, you get a chain wrestler who goes from this position, but he's already thinking of like the next two or three moves ahead. So if this fails, he goes into this. If that fails, it goes into this. Same thing with jiu-jitsu and judo. If you're going for a position, you go, okay, I'm going to hit this. If this fails, where do I go from here? So you're constantly thinking 2-3 moves ahead, and everything just kind of flows at that point. And with Brogan locking in the inverted triangle, simultaneously going for the Kimura, one of them was going to work.
That's overwhelming a guy who's new.
Yeah.
You know?
And Chris he's not done. This kid has got a future. I mean, he's a hell of a wrestler. If this guy just adds a little bit more to his game, improves his striking a little bit more, and actually utilizes both striking, his wrestling and his striking into one, this kid's going to be an animal. I expect to see this kid. I hope I see this kid in Ohio again. But I definitely am going to keep track of him. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on his career and see if he's still fighting in different states.
I foresee a road trip for Rubber City Throwdown. Maybe.
But congratulations to Brogan, man. Again, I've talked this guy up a lot after seeing his debut, and again, he's just so smooth on the ground, man. It's really fun to watch Brogan fight.
And he got the fight. That was step one.
Yeah, his last two opponents had unfortunate events. Ended up having to. Now he wasn't able to fight. So yeah, I'm happy that he was able to get a fight. Now the question is, are we going to be able to keep getting him fights? Because there's going to be. I mean, let's face it. There are guys out there that call themselves fighters that are scared to fight, even on the amateur level, man. So if you have anybody, I mean, hell, you got guys that look at fighters and go, "No, he's too big. He's too ripped.
Right.
I don't want to fight him."
Oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for muscles yet.
Yeah,
I'm good.
what do you think people are gonna do when they start seeing Brogan's his last two performances and go, "Oh shit," you know?
Yeah, and with him, you're pretty much gonna have to try and match him with other submission grapplers.
Yeah,
that's
to beat Brogan right now, because Brogan's striking game is a little weaker. You'd have to literally knock him out, but not get taken down.
Yeah.
You just all defense. That's how you beat Brogan, I think, at this point.
I think if you get like a real technical, like a boxer who's good at pointing,
right,
and his footwork, you know,
as long as he can prevent Brogan from taking them to the ground.
So you stay out of don't get taken down, stay out of the clinch. That's and Brogan, with me saying that, there's still so many things he can get better at. You know what I mean? So if someone comes in with that game plan, might not matter his next fight.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on. Let's go to Matt Seeger versus Joshua Barbie. Matt Seeger defeating Joshua Barbie by TKO verbal submission in round number 1. 1 minute in round number 1.
60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Okay. I was hoping somebody else would say that.
Oh, no, I was losing it.
So,
I was cracking up.
So this is where I go back to, and by the way, Josh, I did not mean we can't go by what you say. It's the pronunciations, because we have the same problem. It was a nervous setup, so don't take it the wrong way.
We can't get it right either. So
you're not the only one that's actually said something to him.
Well, here's the thing. So
pretty sure Scott Corbin said
Scott Corbin came up, looked at me, because he and I were sitting right next to each other. He looks at me. He goes, "Did he just say 60 seconds?" And I go, I believe he did. And he goes, "Isn't that a minute?" I was like, wait a minute. Are you asking me if that's a minute? He goes, That's a minute. And then my wife, she looks at him and says, give him a second, because some people hear 60 seconds and to our own mind, and she gets all into this thing. And I was like, babe, regardless of the fact, it's 1 minute. So he goes down there.
But gone in 1 minute isn't the same as gone in 60 seconds. So
it's a completely different movie.
You know what? Even though that happened, it's Gone with the Wind.
I mean, I guess it sounds done in 60 seconds or done in a minute. Which sounds better?
Okay, I finished within 1 minute.
Does that sound better than 60
Poor
seconds?
wife.
Really?
Josh Sainz did a good job, man. He knows it. But
We're
anyway,
not supposed to make it that obvious.
Anyway, man, congratulations to Matt Seeger and improving his record to 5 wins, 2 losses. Josh Barbie, this is the thing. Josh, dude, Josh doesn't train.
No, he doesn't. And that was exciting. It was so exciting to find that out. And we were talking about this before.
what are you doing? Watching movies. You want to fight? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he just works. He works all the
Yeah.
time. He doesn't have time to train. But it's funny because, like, you would never. The dude's got like 21 goddamn fights. He's trained for maybe one of them.
Okay,
And he's
here's
got
a
9
perfect
wins.
example. Here's a perfect example about another one that we were talking about, which I was corrected on. I apologize to Norman. Ben Childers, same type of setup.
Well,
Oh,
at least
he's
Ben-
undefeated.
But at least Ben trains a little bit. Like when he has a fight comes up, like he hooked up with Victory when he fought
Okay.
Fred Davis. It was only for a couple weeks or some shit.
Right.
Maybe not every day, but it wasn't very often. But he at least linked up with them and got some work. And Josh was like, nah, I just go to work
Yeah,
all day, I come home, I
he
go
comes-
to bed, I go to work the next day, and that's what I do.
He said
But
that he came
the way
straight
he
from
fights-
work the day before up
Right.
to Cleveland.
But the way he fights, you would never guess that he actually
No.
doesn't train. He actually is really
You would
smooth.
expect a very uncoordinated brawler.
Can you imagine, like, can you imagine if he actually did get training? I mean,
Right.
Jesus Christ.
He could have 15 wins,
I mean, Jesus.
or could be a pro. With that fight, you know who I would like to see Matt Seeger fight?
What was this? This is a welterweight, right?
Yeah,
Casey Turnbull.
that would be good. But I was thinking of Ohio's own K.O. Butler.
KO, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Ohio.
I thought maybe, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that'd be a
Did you say yeah one more time?
yeah.
I think that would be a good
He's a
stand-up
idiot.
fight.
That would be, and I think it'd get approved too.
Yeah,
I think it'd
4-2 versus 5-2. I think that would be really good.
Set it up, Scott.
Scott, you have a job.
And moving on to Kobe Fair defeating Marvin Kirk.
I didn't get to see this fight. I was running around yelling at people.
I had
Yeah.
TV
Dude, this
issues.
was this was a pretty entertaining fight, man. It was pretty like both guys obviously strong wrestling background. Marvin surprisingly really good wrestling, man. But his striking wasn't too bad either. I mean, he's coming from West Virginia. A lot of these guys who come in from West Virginia, because MMA was still fairly new, a lot of them were just coming from the tough man era. But you're starting to see a lot of other guys. The wrestling community is starting to get involved in the MMA, especially in West Virginia, and really good. Kobe's just really aggressive, and he was able to transition a lot better than Marvin was able to in this fight. There's a lot of moves and a lot of reverses that Marvin tried that he would have gotten out of with, I don't know, any other fighter.
Right.
Kobe was just too smooth. He's too fast, and he's got
that
a lot
kid-
of experience, man. So he was just able to follow it. Like he rolls with him.
Dude,
he's right there. He's like
I actually said that to Scott. I said, where the hell did you find this guy? And he goes, I was just going down the list. And I was like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
So-
Kobe went to Barberton.
yeah,
Right.
He's in Barberton.
So, he was actually announced from the Magic City. So, but yeah, you guys aren't kidding. That dude is fast. As soon as he went to transition, that kid was on him like white on rice. No joke.
Was Kobe the one that one of them did? Was Kobe the one that did the touch?
Yes.
And immediately went in for the
Yeah.
punch.
He came
I think
out.
me and Jose
He came
were
out. He touched, and then he immediately, poof.
Like
Wow.
Got to be ready.
Yeah, always gotta be ready. I reminds me of Jason Davis. Jason Davis did that shit to I think it was like Paul Compton or something like that. I can't remember. It might have been Paul Compton. I can't remember what it was, but that shit cracked me up.
I don't know. Kobe came in about a year and a half ago, down at old Rock Hard Unique Fitness,
Unique.
and him and Isaiah were getting work together, and you could tell then, he didn't have any striking then. Like he was, we're doing like boxing rounds, and he'd slip, get hit, and shoot.
Wow.
Yeah.
During boxing. But I mean, Kobe, awesome kid, really good, All-American up at Notre Dame. He's coaching there now.
He was cracking me up, man. It's like in his interview, Kale was just like, Kobe, hey, how do you feel about this? Give me a beer.
Yeah.
Give me a beer. That's all I want is cut this bullshit. He's probably going to get suspended for like the 4 or 5 F-bombs that he dropped
Oh my
during
gosh.
that interview.
So we're looking at each other. We're looking at each other, and then the DJ looks at me, and he goes,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, there goes that FCC law. He goes,
Well, Jose looks at me and goes, he's going to get suspended for that, isn't he? I was like, he probably is. I mean, it depends.
anybody got a
But,
shoe?
that was cracking up. Kobe,
Kobe's awesome, man.
But Marvin's an experienced guy too. This was his 7th fight. He's our 6th fight. It was his 6th fight, and unless they just didn't update the records and the results, but he's gonna be back, and he's a good fighter. Marvin's actually a really good fighter. So he fights. I don't know. Anyone you give him 10 more opponents, man, he'll probably win all those, man.
Yeah.
It just so happened that stylistically he just wasn't better than Kobe last night. So I expect to see Marvin back though.
So the next one was actually something that we were all looking forward to, and that was Cameron McIntosh and Dom Johns.
Yeah,
Dom was the fighter that fight actually almost got called off because Dom came in like 4 or 5 pounds heavier or some shit, and he ended up making it. I don't think it really did anything to him to change the outcome of the fight, but it could have played a mental factor that he had to cut 4 pounds the day of the fight, and I remember that Cameron was talking to his manager, and they were like, he was like, hey, he's like 4 pounds over, 3 pounds over, some shit. He lost like a pound in an hour, and they're like, no, make him lose it. And if he doesn't, we'll fight next month.
Right.
They just weren't having it. They didn't want that fight if he was heavy. And I don't disagree at all with that decision.
especially with someone has fought at the upper weight classes. Why give him the advantage?
And Cameron and Victor MMA, Terry Blackwell, man, they had a really good game plan coming in there. I mean, I don't even know why I didn't even think about this as much as I've been talking about Dom's last couple fights. I mean, you look at his last couple fights, he knocked out Mike Siebert in the first round, and then he beat John McGregor in the first round via submission. He picked him up, dropped him, armbar, I believe. Both, he's an explosive fighter, right to the point, really aggressive. All Cameron had to do was see what happens when he weathered the storm. And that's exactly what he did. Yep. He weathered the storm, and you could see it. You could see the right hand, just the overhand right that Dom was throwing. I mean, it was nasty. Yeah. If he would have connected, he did connect.
He did.
He connected one good time on Cameron, and Cameron just fucking ate it, dude. like
from
dinner, dude. He just ate it.
And then smiled. And then he smiled.
Yeah. But, like, if he would have taken the other 5 overhand rights that actually missed, could have been a different outcome.
Right.
But Don was definitely trying to get in there with those power shots, and Cameron was making them miss. And every power shot that you throw and miss, you get more and more tired and more and more tired. And honestly, Cameron weathered the storm. That was a good game plan on their part. They go, hey, man, let's see what this kid's cardio looks like. Let's see what his conditioning looks like, man. Let's see what happens when he doesn't win in the first round. Let's see what happens when you push him beyond that point. You make him tired, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And that's what he did. He wrestled with him. He made him miss. He clinched with them, and then while he's weathering the fight lasted longer than 30 seconds, and that's what happened. So.
And while he's weathering that storm, he was still landing punches and shots of his own with minimal energy wasted. Then that was smart.
And Cameron, he told us, man, his jiu-jitsu is getting better. He ends up getting the tap out by triangle choke in 2 minutes and 40 seconds in round number 1, man. And that improves Cameron improves record to 6 wins and 1 loss now. So let's see what's next for both of these fighters, man. So
congratulations, Mr.
Moving on to
McIntosh.
Drew Dixon and Jeff Ofek. Like, I apologize, Drew was one of the other guys, man. He was walking around the cage for like 30 seconds afterwards waiting for the interview, and I felt so bad. But because that fight went to a decision, I just couldn't, I didn't get the okay until like it was too late to run up there and get it. And this was a number one contender match for the amateur bantamweight division, and Drew Dixon won, improving his record to 5-1, defeating Jeff by split decision. This was a very good fight. It was a close fight.
That this was like when we were talking at cage side. Do you look at control? Do you look at who was a little bit more busy? What are the judges looking at? And they all watched everything. If you were only looking at wrestling, this was 30-27 almost the whole way.
Yeah,
right.
But it's who's busier. So I think they got the right.
Who's got
decision.
the more takedowns? Who was on top longer? Who had more control? Who was more active? I mean, this fight had it all too, and this was another really smooth fight.
Yeah, and this had another submission that most people would have tapped out.
Yeah.
Like Drew's elbow was bent around his hip.
I was just getting ready to say that too, man. That was a gross. We remember saying, we're like, that's gonna hurt in the morning.
Yeah.
So it was like,
well, gentlemen, that's gonna hurt in the morning.
And Drew toughed it out, ended up getting the win. I talked to him backstage, and I was like, "How's that elbow?" And he's like, "And I go, "I did that." I'm like, "I'm stubborn and I'm stupid too, so I've just toughed it out and been fine." And then 15 minutes later, you can't move it.
It's almost like sleeping with your arm off the.
And it's like, so in a month when you get back to training, hopefully,
Right.
right.
But yeah, just that like we were talking earlier, that could have been fight of the night. That could have been fight of the night.
Could have. And congratulations again to Drew Dixon. Like I said, improving his record to 5 wins and 1 loss. And we're going to see both of these fighters back again, man. Jeff's a hell of a competitor as well. Moving on to Lucas Mass and Braden Liggett. Congratulations to Lucas, man. But this is one of those. This was the fight. It was kind of like we pissed some people off, and when I voiced my opinion about how I felt Lucas should have fought this fight, and how I criticized Lucas's striking superiority over Braden's, I felt that Braden had the superior striking, that he was a better point fighter, coming out of T County, and that's what those guys do. They're used to boxing. They box for points. Case in point, the calf strikes that Braden was landing on Lucas, Braden's corner thought that they outpointed him because of the leg strikes, just the calf strikes, while Lucas was on top. And it's like, I got news for you guys. That doesn't mean shit. You can kick the shit out of somebody. You can land 100 of those, and it isn't going to make a difference if he doesn't actively have control on the ground.
And I think the only time they would is if he's just pounding that calf, and then they get it stood up, and then he can't move that foot because of the damage. That's the only way that people would look at that and be like, oh, he was really hurting him there, but that and that's very rare anyway.
Right.
Because I mean, he was Lucas was on top, and then Braden was just and I was like, you're not really scoring much.
Yeah. And then with Lucas, like when on the initial exchanges, they didn't last long. 5-10 seconds, and then Lucas was quick to cut that cage, get a clinch or get his hands on him somehow, and put him on the cage and get the takedown.
Lucas did exactly what I said
was
he needed to do
Yeah.
in order to win the fight. He needed to get inside the bubble. He needed to figure out a way to get inside Braden Liggett's bubble, cut the cage off, and get him to the ground, where I felt that Lucas was a superior fighter on the ground. And that's what he did. He would step in, he'd slip a couple punches, or he'd wait for the opportunity, and then he'd shoot right in. And he did. He'd lock him up, he'd clinch him, he'd get him, he'd press him up against the cage, and he'd cut that off. He'd cut that distance, that reach disadvantage off, and he took him to the ground. And he was able to continuously take him to the ground and control the fight from there. So I completely 100% agree with the unanimous decision that was given to Lucas Mass for this fight. I know a lot of guys from T County don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, but
it's
there
what
was
happened.
really nothing else. You can't score that fight any other way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He had the takedowns, the control, damage. Strikes were probably even.
Yeah. Striking in the striking department, Braden did really well.
Yep.
Both fighters did well. But again, that's not where the fight ended. You know, the fight ended on the ground, basically.
Yeah. And when we were watching, one of the things I pointed out too, Liggett seemed like, even on his back, being controlled, was sticking his tongue out and like waving to the corner, and he should have been trying to get a sweep or get out, because you're on the bottom, you're in a losing position unless you're doing something, unless you're trying to sweep or get some kind of submission.
Right.
And then I remember afterwards, Jose comes up to me and goes, "I told you." I'm like, "Come on, man!" Like I didn't say that he wasn't gonna win or anything like that. I was just simply stating that I felt that Braden was the better striker when it came to outpointing your opponent.
How many leg kicks did Lucas throw? I don't think I saw a leg kick.
No.
Which is probably, game plan wise, like the leg kicks in his previous fight, he had like 13 of them.
Right.
You know, so I was just thinking, I was like,
training for the fighter. Maybe his camp felt that it would have done anything.
Or they thought he's going to expect these leg kicks.
I mean, when Lucas fought Casey was an aggressive, in-your-face striker. What's one good way to keep somebody from constantly getting in your face? Throw some leg kicks.
Axe down that front leg.
Well, when you fight Braden, who's not that guy who's getting in your face and hunting you down the whole time, he's more of a counter striker from what we've seen when he fought KO. Why throw leg kicks? He's just going to back up. You're not going to land too many of them. He's not in your face. He's not putting pressure on you. If anything, Braden should have been the one landing the leg kicks on Lucas to keep him from rushing in on him. So, and that goes to your camp. It goes to your coaching. They were, that was their strategy and their game plan. They went out. And again, what I was talking about Michael Webb.
Yeah.
Train for your opponent.
Right.
Okay? If leg kicks work for you against this guy, well, leg kicks may not work for you against that guy.
Right.
Yeah, but not only congratulations to Lucas, performance in the win, but to Jose, Brian Berkey, that coaching staff for like good game plan, having him ready. Yeah. And talking to Lucas, he had a little bit of an adrenaline dump. It wasn't so much cardio, but he just came out, and after about 30 seconds of the second round, he just adrenaline dump, which is a pretty big deal and hard to overcome. So good job on his part.
And congratulations to Jose and them for getting the new gym, man.
Yeah.
Common Ground Grappling Club.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys. Seriously.
Well, Lucas Mass actually got the welterweight championship, so congratulations to him overall with this win.
What are you guys going to try to do now? Who fights next for the title?
There's a few options, and
also, will they have to fight Lucas? Will he have to defend it, or is it like a new contender and a new?
Lucas will have to defend it.
He will have to defend it
unless he goes pro.
He can't go pro.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying anybody.
Well, no, I know that. I know if obviously if he doesn't have the belt, he won't defend it. But he currently has the belt. Yeah.
So Lucas will defend a title. It's possible. What about the good old Mike Ado?
That'd be a hell of a fight.
That's right, because Mike Ado does have. No, he doesn't.
No, Mike Ado won the belt, but then popped. So they took the belt.
No.
away,
I knew that he took the belt from. Oh, so that came out back true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never
mind. But due to technical things, he wasn't able to keep the title.
Right.
But that could be a matchup. But when I talked to him, he's talking about dropping to 55.
Right. But he was perfectly content with going up to 70 and competing again. So.
He that night we ended up going to the same bar after Ado's fight, and he was just kind of like, I'd rather go to 55.
Yeah.
Hey.
So.
Well, he was going to 55 originally when he fought. When he fought for the welterweight title.
Yeah.
And then obviously when he fought Kyle Booth couldn't make the weight, so they went ahead and jumped up to 170 pounds where he fought and won.
Yeah.
The welterweight title. So it makes sense. It makes sense. You had Michael Ado, who originally won the title, was taken away because he popped for THC, and now Lucas has the belt.
So weird when you say that.
Yeah, right.
He got popped for THC, sir.
Hey,
He uses too much CBD oil. No, I'm kidding.
All right, moving on. William Ferguson, Tim Hughes.
This fight.
I haven't stopped talking about this fight.
This fight had to have been like, okay, you had your fight of the night. Then you get your shocker of the night.
This is like a submission of the night. This could go down as the submission of the night too.
It showcased, all right, Tim Hughes' determination and how bad he wanted that strap. It totally does.
I mean, you ride a fine line between hard work, determination, grit. Like I said, this is a tough man sport.
And that shows.
And tough. Sometimes I think
being tough and being stubborn.
I think Tim was just too tough for his own good in this case. I honestly believe that Tim should have tapped
a long time
ago. And it's okay. If you're a professional, it's one thing. Hell, even professional definitely you're gonna want to tap because, I mean, thank God he's an amateur. And that he doesn't necessarily do this to support his family,
right.
Because if he would have with an injury like this, you're out 6 months to a year, depending on exactly what broke or shattered. I mean, he had to have surgery today, so he's probably getting pins put in his arm.
There might be a plate in there somewhere.
I mean, that's a bad break.
That's reconstructive. I mean,
and I'm only disappointed because he didn't tap because I want to see him fight sooner.
Right.
You know, I don't want to wait 6 months to a year to see him back in the cage, man, because you don't know how he's going to be able to recover. I don't know how mentally he's going to be able to recover or if he will be able to get back in the gym and physically recover from this injury. Some fighters are just different after sustaining an injury like this. I mean, hell, look at Tim Sylvia.
Yeah.
He got his arm snapped by Mir. He just wasn't the same afterwards, man. And it wasn't even that bad it wasn't that bad.
As a person asking two fighters, okay, Norm, we understand that you have a different outlook on the MMA scene or on your MMA training and your fight tactics now, your fight strategy now. In comparison to back when you were Timothy's age, would you have made the same choice? If you were back at that point,
would I have tapped?
Would you have tapped, or would you have allowed it to keep going to find out if your body could take it?
I would have tapped.
You would have tapped.
Yeah, I would have tapped.
What about you?
Oh, tap. Live, fight another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially in the submission that he was in.
Because that's what I was wanting to know. Is the live to fight another day tactic more prominent in your mind back when you were younger, or would it be different in your fight strategy when you're a little bit older?
I mean, some people in the fight game, some people will mature at a younger age. Some people, it takes a little bit longer to mature mentally in the fight world. Yeah. But, I mean, I honestly don't think that – I mean, you talk to anybody who is, like, in their 30s now that spent their 20s, fighting, they'll all say the same thing, man. I should have sparred with headgear on, or I should have wore a mouthpiece when I was doing this, or I should have.
That's why I wanted.
I should have wore a cup.
Yeah, I should have wore a cup.
So that's the reason why I wanted to put you back into that mindset of when you were younger.
But no, I would have. But then again, I'm a little bitch when it comes. I couldn't even watch the replay.
Okay, so
I couldn't when his
speaking
arm
of the
popped,
replay,
when his arm popped. I got chills. Like, I started sweating. I was like, oh!
With the submissions.
Okay.
If you're in a submission that's going to break a bone, tear a ligament, if it's to the point where you're thinking about that, tap. It's already too late.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's a chokehold and the worst case scenario is you wake up, you don't know what happens. If you think you can fight it, fight it.
If you're in a rear naked choke, like if I would have been in a rear naked choke 10 years ago, whatever, man, put me out. I might have tapped.
You wake up. What happened?
I tapped when I fought Felix when I got in the rear naked. I tapped not because of the choke, because he hyperextended my back, and he ended up breaking small lumbar bones in my back when he put his knee into my lower spine and then cranked the rear naked. So that's why I tapped. I tapped out of like a panic. Oh shit! What the hell is that? And then I ended up getting suspended indefinitely until I got a doctor's note to come back, being cleared to fight. So, yeah, but anything else, you put me in a choke, I'm just going to go out.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know, I was sitting, and I've said this a couple times, what location I was sitting at, I was actually back over by the water on the stage, and even Amber, you hear just this subtle but still kind of loud.
I'm glad it was subtle for you.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
When we were 4 feet away from it
With headphones on.
with headphones on, and it sounds like somebody just hit a softball
Yeah.
or a baseball
Yeah.
or some shit. Like,
well, you hear it, and you hear, and then Amber goes, "What was that?" And I looked at her. I was like, I think it was a chair. It was a chair."
Well,
But then on the
we
instant
knew it was going to
replay-
happen.
Yeah.
Because I saw the move. I was like, he's going to put this arm over his leg, and if he gets that other one over, that's a hard submission to get. And then and there it is. And then
Brian called it 3 seconds before it actually happened. He said this is a hard submission to get out of. What was the submission called?
it's an Americano with the legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
He calls it. He goes, "This is a very difficult submission to get out of, to defend against. If he doesn't, if he can't defend against it, he's going to break his arm." 3 seconds later, his arm snaps.
That's all you hear is just.
And I was
And
like,
I was like-
he broke it.
Yeah,
And
broke it.
It was bad.
And as soon as
It
that
was-
I think
happened,
KO threw up or passed out or something. He couldn't watch it.
did he really? KO just threw
I
up.
had my Joe Rogan moment where I was like, oh, oh, like that's all I could say. And I just, and then you hear it over the headphones. I take the headphones off for a minute. I'm like listening. I turn around and the people behind me are like, like, what the hell happened? What is that? What happened? Like,
Okay, so
I mean, there was just
I'm sitting next to the video guy, and I've got a clear view of all of his screens. And as soon as intermission happened, I run up. Well, not intermission, but it was a break in the time.
yeah.
So I run up over there. I was like, show me the instant replay, and if you've got a tight angle on what the hell happened, and you see the rib cage of Tim, and you see his arm and a little bit of his shoulder blade because he was slightly raised on his one side. You actually can see as soon as the break happens, all of his weight just goes straight down onto his rib cage, and you watch his shoulder blade just pop away. And I was like, holy shizda.
Yeah, watching that, because as soon as he said it's going to break, like I just tunnel visioned, like right here. I was looking right there, and yeah, and it just went bop, 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 boom. It just, like I said, it sounded like somebody hit a baseball.
Yeah.
It was loud.
But I will
It
tell
was
you
loud.
what, that was a great fight for both fighters. I
It was
mean,
good scrambles. Like they were
Yes.
good scrambles, and like watching
was-
that fight, I think Ferguson was more prepared for the scramble with punches and not just submissions
Yeah.
you know what I was also surprised about?
on the ground.
So Tim Hughes, and I think it was the second round, maybe. Yeah, second round, I think, or maybe they stood him up. I can't remember. But anyways, he comes back out, and to get him to the ground, he did something that I've never seen another fight in our organization do yet.
Well, you just pulled guard.
Well, he put his legs up first before his hands were wrapped around his leg.
Jumping guard.
Yeah,
Jumping
okay.
guard.
Well, he did that, and I was like, how did he stay in mid-flight for that long for him to
Dude,
be able to
just
lock
wait
in?
till you wait till you see someone do a flying armbar or a flying triangle for the first time. You're gonna shit your pants.
I just saw it, and I was like, holy shit. He
but-
just literally just
Well, you know
made
what's-
himself levitate for
There's
3
guys
seconds.
that look like they're in a cartoon because they'll literally heel to thigh and climb up the person to get for like a
Okay.
flying arm triangle. It's
But no, like
I just never seen it happen.
Ferguson
and it was, like,
Ferguson
weird.
actually called that in his pre-fight interview. He actually called that he felt that he was going that Tim was going to pull guard.
Mm-hmm.
He even called it too, and when he pulled guard with double overhooks.
Yeah.
And but that's the thing. Like, okay,
He didn't
when
like
you're
the
looking at
judo
the first
throw.
round. And that was the big thing.
That was huge.
The first round, we looked at it. We go, okay. Ferguson he pressed him up there, and he tried the judo throw first, right off the get go. I pressed him up against the cage. He was working the judo throw. We all saw it. Tim he did a really good job at defending it, and it was good. It was like, hell yeah, good job,
Yep.
Tim. He had really good defense. It was good on him to recognize the judo throw. He stuffed it. And then what did William do? He set it up with a big overhand right followed by a right straight right into the judo throw.
Right.
That's experience that you get. I mean, over time. I mean, obviously William has 8 fights. This kid's gonna go pro within the next 1 or 2 fights, man.
Yeah.
He's on a tear right now. And like I said, he's a hell of a ground fighter, man. And to be honest with you, he did a really good job striking too.
Yeah.
They were both catching each other on the stand up, but it was that big overhand right followed by the right straight that set up that judo throw that really made the difference in that fight. Because as soon as he took Tim to the ground, I think Tim felt the superiority that Will had over him on the ground, which has really surprised me why he would pull guard. I don't know if Tim just felt uncomfortable on the stand-up with Will after that, but I feel like Tim couldn't set up a lot in round 1 when he got taken to the ground while William was in mount. Okay, so why would Tim then pull guard knowing that? I mean, maybe he was just his confidence.
It's either it's a safety thing, like I'm more comfortable here, I'm gonna go there, or he might have felt something that, hey, I can get this off. I can pull this submission if I get him here. I don't like on the feet. He's got the throw and that right hand. You know, my stand up isn't quite working right now.
And Tim, he did set up. He started to set up the triangle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was very.
But William, I mean, anybody who looks at Tim's fight history, all 3 wins were by triangle choke.
Right.
And even Ferguson said in the interview, he goes, "Hey, guy loves a triangle. So what do you think?"
Right.
He prepared. What do you think he worked on?
Put more defense on that
and
one.
it's it. And Tim, he went for the triangle, and Will stuffed it. He tried to transition to an armbar from the triangle, and it just didn't work. And I think that's when he lost ground superiority in round number 1. That's why it surprised me that he would jump guard.
I'm also wondering if there wasn't an adrenaline dump in there for Tim Hughes, because unlike the other fights that we've seen him working with, it was almost like I saw him in the middle of there was one point, I don't remember what round it was in, but there was one point where he had his legs around his waist, and Tim was on his back, and he was pushing back, but then all of a sudden out of nowhere, his whole posture just changed. Like he relaxed, and it was like he was ready. Just okay, go ahead and take the dominant position on this one, and then we'll just go and try and see where it goes. I don't know if that was the case, or maybe he just was overpowered, but it looked like it that way.
But I don't know if he was if he got relaxed in that position. There's as far as like progressing your position, passing the guard, you never know what he was thinking about doing. Mm-hmm. But then you have to realize whatever he's thinking, Ferguson wasn't planning on just staying there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a chess match, just back and forth. And I honestly think that what was working for Hughes in other fights, in practice, with the people he trains with, was getting stopped or stalemated,
right.
And then he had to counter by what Will was doing,
Right.
Okay.
And that's what changes the fight. So and with that, when your gym is so far away and you don't have a lot of people to work with, it's hard to adjust to new styles or game plans, because everybody fights a little different. If you practice with the same 15 people, you get really good against those 15 people, but then you get someone new in a fight, or if you're cross training, you're gonna learn the hard way. Like, oh man, I've never seen that before.
Right.
Like that step over Americano with the legs, or the step over arm crank. That's how I knew it.
Yeah.
If he didn't see that, I love that move.
Right.
Like you get in side guard, and you have the control. It's there almost every time.
Right. Now we interviewed Tim.
Okay. That guy is a trooper.
Now because the paramedics the paramedics got called away to attend to Tim, and then somebody passed out and busted their heads. So there was a kind of a break, and they come up to the commentary table. Hey man, Tim refuses to leave in the paramedic until we get an interview with
That
him.
was me, by the way.
I know that was you, and I said, "Fuck it, take the camera, get the interview."
So
KO went with him.
We made the exception. Normally, we don't do interviews with the loser of the fight. So the only reason why this happened was because it was an unconventional loss. And even
Plus
though
he requested it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get too many opportunities to jump in the back of a paramedic and interview a guy who's just chilling back there with.
Do you want to know what the paramedic said to us?
What?
He goes, "This is unorthodox." And I said to the paramedic, I was like, this is the request of this fighter. I was like,
Respect the patient.
I said to him, I was like, do you want me to do it in the back end of the EMS, or do you want me to have him come out of the EMS? He goes, I actually don't want him to move until the paramedics get here. I was like, okay, well, then we're doing it here. So then I had KO jump in there, and I was like, Tim, just say what you need to say.
Yeah, that cracked me up, man. I think he just wanted a shout out, and he just wanted to let people know that he was all right, man. He did say, I did hear him say that he felt that William got under the glove or inside the glove, and what I take away from that is I think we didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
We were calling that fight. We didn't see nothing.
Right.
You probably have to dissect the instant replay.
There
the
isn't
fight.
a good. There is
Yeah, and
not a good.
there's really no. So that's only something that a fighter inside the cage in the fight is going to notice. But what he means by that is he said that Will got inside of his glove
And held it down.
pulled the glove into that submission, which isn't allowed. But then again, like I said,
When I was watching, I'm pretty sure he had the wrist, and then when he locked it. Now when he stepped, I almost guarantee his heel is digging into the palm of that glove.
So maybe that's what he felt.
Because that's what he probably felt.
Okay.
Because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Your heel's on that hand, your elbow's getting, it comes here.
Right.
So if
Yeah,
you can't see your hand.
Because
And
I didn't see. Yeah, I personally didn't see, and we had the best seat in the house. We
Yeah.
had the TV in front of us. We
And
had
I
the
was
instant,
checking-
We had the instant replays
Yeah.
too.
And it was
I didn't see
5 feet
I checked
right there.
every
and-
single
yeah.
one of those camera angles. There was absolutely no angle that had Tim Hughes in his head or his arm in his hands visible. So there was no way, shape, or form to be able to dissect that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from anybody. I didn't see it. I don't think anybody actually saw it. That might just be something that Tim felt in the fight, and like Brian said, it might have been the heel. We don't exactly know what he felt inside the cage, but like I said, I'm happy for Will. We've been covering Will since 2017. This is like the third show that we've actually covered him on, and it's good. It's nice to see, guys. It's nice to cover guys from different states this many times, man. You know what I'm saying? You cover a lot of guys in Ohio multiple times, but you got Will and his brother Chuck that come down here and they put on a good show, and it's fun. It's fun to keep having them coming back, man.
Big congratulations to Will Ferguson for taking that championship title. We wish Tim Hughes a speedy recovery. We're always anxious to see everybody fight. You guys did a really good job out there in the cage.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
Even though you stopped the show for 40 minutes, no hard feelings.
yeah,
It wasn't him. It was a chick that fell out.
it was kind of him.
It was kind of him because I couldn't run the board.
Let's move on to the featherweight championship with Yohi Rojas and Alex Johnston.
I didn't get to see this fight.
This was a hell of a fight. I will say this, okay? Yohi looked good. Okay, he looked good. He was smooth. He's ready, man. I think he's ready for the next level. Alex put on a good show. He put on one hell of a fight, but there was constantly a sense of urgency coming from the corner of Alex. They wanted him to do this and specifically this. They didn't want him clinching. They wanted him in his face. They wanted him punching. And he didn't show that until the end of until the third round, and where he got really aggressive. You watch the fight, you'll see that at the beginning of the third, he was super aggressive, trying to figure out how to get it inside Yohi's little areas, bubble, and land some shots. He was trying to figure out how to get him to the ground. Yohi was just. His head movement was fantastic. His level change was awesome. His striking was superb. He just looked like a good all-around, well-rounded fighter right now, man. He moves to 8-0 as an amateur. Now he has a title. He's ready to go, man. He could probably make an argument to the commission to go pro right now, one short shy of the Ohio requirement. Yeah. So,
and Alex is tough. Like,
Alex
I
is
didn't get to see
very
that
tough.
fight, but everyone was telling me that it was a pretty dominant performance.
I mean, it's not like Yohi walked right through him either.
Right.
Alex put on a good show. He put on one hell of a fight. It just, I mean, dude, Yohi could have went for another 3 rounds, man. dude's in phenomenal shape. He was like
He was
running
actually
around after the fight. He's like running back and forth and shit. And
I'm telling you, he's got the adrenaline of a freaking gazelle.
well, that's the thing. I don't think there was any adrenaline dump in this fight.
No.
Because this was the fight right after the William Ferguson and Hughes fight. So the fight was stopped. So these guys were actually standing or sitting, moving around, trying to stay warm in the cage while they were waiting for the paramedics for like 10 minutes before they finally
they
had
sent
them
them back.
leave.
I don't know
Yeah.
because
Well, they were in there.
Alex Johnson was sitting on the cage.
Well, they
He
were
was just-
they were in the cage for like 10 minutes before they sent him back out. So also, what does that do to a fighter's psyche when you're like ready to go, and then you're not? Then you're all hyped up, you're warm up, then you're cold, and then you have to do that
Right.
all over
Yeah.
again.
Well,
you
actually,
have to re-walk out. All
I
over
believe,
again.
yeah. Okay, you just determined what I was going to ask. But anyways, yeah, they actually had him, exit the cage because of how long it was going to take for the ambulances to go ahead and evacuate. And even then, they went ahead and just said, "Okay, we're going to go ahead and go. The paramedics are here. Our EMS team's back." But then we still see the flashing red lights everywhere.
Right.
But no, they went into the back. They heated back up. And they got back into training because I was listening to the whole thing.
Well, yeah, that's the smart thing to
Yeah,
do. They go back there and they got to warm back up. But it's like, I don't know.
There's
if
a
that
mental
had-
aspect to that too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah,
know what mentally, what did it do to
that
it?
switch that you're supposed to be turning on right then and there, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's done.
Like, obviously, I don't think it did anything to Yohi, but could it have had an effect on Alex? We don't know. I had to talk to him,
Right.
Get an idea of what was going through his head at that moment. I mean, if Alex was fighting anyone else, I think Alex would have won that fight. I mean, he did. He came out aggressive. He did his thing, and unfortunately, he just wasn't the better fighter that fight for him, that night. So, but congratulations, Yogi, man. That dude, like I said, that dude's ready. So, moving on, let's go to our pro card. This next fight, to me, this fight was fight of the night.
Yes.
So,
It was, I don't know. To me, okay, Nick Bashir, the last time we saw him fight, he took the super heavyweight title.
Amateur, yep.
Yeah, amateur title. Then he decided, oh, I've got enough. I'm going to go and submit my pro my pro application. He got approved. Now we see him again. His pro debut that night was, it was, I don't know. I'm excited that he won and everything else, but I think they gassed out too fast. And it was very obvious.
It's a super heavyweight fight. You
Yeah,
get it. Especially in a pro fight, you get about 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay. You get 7 to 8 minutes. But they both came out, Caleb Raymond and Nick Bashir, dude, both of them very, very big guys.
Yeah.
Not heavy-wise. I'm talking just their bone structure and everything else.
Nick
They
Bashir,
are big guys.
both guys stand about 6'3".
Right.
All right, Nick Bashir came in at a whopping 330 pounds, whereas Caleb, who should probably take his next fight at heavyweight, came in at 291. Okay, so Caleb should probably go down to heavyweight, which might actually be what he's planning on doing.
Yeah.
Now, I think the reason why these guys gas out in the fashion that they did, as opposed to, like, let's say when Nick fought like George Pointer, who went all 3 rounds.
Right.
He's gone the distance several times.
Right.
Where he didn't gas out and like he did here. I think they were just trying to go for the one punch knockout.
Yeah,
Man,
they were loading
going
up.
for
They
it.
were
So
loading
they
up
were-
and swinging heavy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what it was.
So-
See, and that's where I was getting at was, the first round they both come out, they're actually showing a lot of aggression. It was really good. Caleb pushed him up against the cage a few times. They both went down to the ground once or twice in the first round. But then when the second round came out, you could totally see Caleb. He just wants to drop his arms. He's tired. And then Nick Bashir, he's moving a little bit slower. He's actually starting to look somewhat similar to what I've seen George do, but George comes out and he's just aggressing you against the cage. I didn't know if that's what he was trying to do, but then you see the glossiness all over him, and it's just, no, I'm tired. I'm going slower.
I could definitely tell you that seeing him a couple feet away, after the first round, both fighters were about dead. And I remember halfway through the second, me and Jose looked at each other and was like, holy shit. These guys still have like 2.5 minutes left in this round, and they are sucking gas right now. And like Nick Brashear's game plan was very simple, judging from what I've seen. He did in the fight. He wanted to clinch and he wanted to hit the dirt. He wanted to do dirty boxing. He was trying to get that uppercut. He was trying to get the short punches. He was trying to keep him at bay and this is what confused me. He wanted the clinch and he was trying to go for the dirty boxing. But he was also trying to catch him with that front kick, which threw him off balance like 3 times.
Yeah.
Caleb would just run right in and just toss him. All he did, as soon as he'd land the front kick, if Caleb went in on it, it threw Nick off balance like 100%. And Nick fell down a couple times,
right,
which actually worked in an advantage of Caleb, where he tried to rush in and get him. And like you could tell, even though these guys were like super tired, when they saw the opportunity, they were throwing.
Yeah.
Which in turn made them even more tired. But like Caleb's corner the whole time was like, don't clinch with them, and he kept clinching with them,
right,
because they knew that's what Nick was trying to do. He got him in the clinch, and he was boom, 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 and that's those short choppy punches, man. Caleb did get a couple good elbows. In. I felt that,
they both did. There was a point.
Yeah, there was
over by the cage door where Brashear came up. It was a right elbow, and then immediately just threw a left over right after that. And when Caleb looked up, and was like, "Shit!"
Right. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. When we see Nick Brashear fight, there is nothing short of, obvious dedication, obvious training to it. He's not just going out there and thinking on the fly. What can I do to make this happen even better? He's coming out there with a strategy. And, Caleb also does the same thing. When we saw him fight last, he's actually going out there. He has great groundwork, and he was actually showcasing more off this time his stand-up game, and which is what Nick wants.
I think that was a bad game plan on Raymond. Not a lot of footwork.
Right.
Brashear's he's going to march down and he's going to hit you real hard. He's going to throw some kicks to try to set up his punches. For how easy it was for Caleb Raymond to take Brashear down with a whizzer against the cage.
And that was sick, by the way. He landed right on the back of his neck.
That should have happened earlier in that fight. If that happened earlier, Caleb Raymond probably wins that fight. Right. He waited too long to do something that he's obviously good at. But again, when you get in the cage and you see a challenge, I can hit harder than this guy. I'm gonna see if I can do that. And I think that's what it was.
It's not like Nick ran through Caleb either. Caleb won that last round.
Yeah,
hands down. I think Caleb won that last round, and
see, all 3 rounds were close except for 40 seconds.
Right.
Where there was the one round where Caleb's hands were down just taking punches, and he would throw one and take 4.
Right.
And then it just 40-second spurts are what won or lost that fight.
Well, it clearly showed between both competitors at the very end when the buzzer rang. Both fighters were on the mat, and even Caleb, who had the dominant position on Nick Brashear at the very end, he rolled off of him, and he just needed to take a rest. He was just napping for a few seconds. But ultimately, we stood him back up, and the unanimous decision went to Nick Brashear, which is a very big win for him. I mean, it's his professional debut. Congratulations, bro.
And before we talked, he was saying that could be his first fight and his last fight. So
he wants to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to him, but we're not sure, though.
Right. All right, let's move on to our second professional fight. A.J. Dobson defeats Wesley Golden via tap out rear naked choke, round 1 of 24 seconds, huh?
That was, man, that fight, to me it seemed, Logan had complete control of that fight. Everything was
It was not Logan, not Logan. Yeah, A.J. Dobson.
That was the second fight?
Yes, that was the second fight.
Second pro fight, yeah.
Wow. That fight.
Jesus Christ, Brian, listen.
Hey, I had a lot of running around to do.
I literally just said it.
Guy spilled beer on me.
Okay,
AJ Dobson and Wesley
we brought
Golden.
you in to not be me.
The AJ Dobson fight. So I'll skip. After the fight, I was mad at Strong Style because it's hard enough for us to find this guy a fight.
Oh yeah, because of what they were doing.
You know, and no, it's what AJ did. He just ran through this guy.
Oh,
Like literally, just ran through him. He was sharp. You know, he had his little Muay Thai march down. You know, playing off the back foot, moving in, and just AJ looked really, really good. Not as good as the interview in the towel. I mean, that was classic, Valvina's style.
I'll tell you what, that was. I wish I could say it was an awkward thing, but now that I've been doing these interviews with these guys,
It really is not.
I don't find it. It didn't even faze me really, and I have to give it to the guy. He weighed in, he stripped down, and as soon as he got his clearing from the commission, he looked at Norm and said, "I'm ready for my interview." And we both looked at each other like, "In a towel?"
He's like, hey, why not?
And he goes, "Yeah, why not?" So then we finished the interview, and this guy, he just doesn't care. He's done. He's like, "You know what? Okay, Mike, dude that was taking the photos, awesome."
He's just like, hey,
"Hey,
whatever."
you want to do your face off? You want to do your face off in a towel?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?" And his opponent's just looking at him like, It's just weird.
Nah, man. Wesley came out really aggressive. He came out like I think any other fighter would probably come out trying to fight AJ, man. Aggressive, straight to the point, try to catch him. AJ's an animal, man.
Yeah, he's so fast, and his accuracy, the accuracy of his every strike he threw, extremely impressive.
Yeah.
And don't forget your underwear. Just
Yeah. I said he caught him real good. He put him down. He didn't even sink in hooks or anything like that when he took the back to get the choke, man. He just got the choke. He sinked it in. Yeah, he was right in front of us, man.
Yep.
I mean, you knew as soon as he locked it in, he was under the chin, started squeezing. That was it. So, hats off to Wesley for showing up, taking the fight. Like I said, it's hard enough finding this guy a fight to begin with. It's going to be even harder finding him a fight. But he's on his way, man. AJ's on his way. You guys are going to see this kid on the next level really soon.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get called up or on the next season of the Contender. You know,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then moving on now, let's talk about the Logan Urban and Zach Davis fight. Zach Davis defeated Logan Urban round number one, late in round number one by TKO. Man, caught him
flush.
Yeah.
Caught him flush, and then it didn't knock him out, but it put him down long enough for Zach to get dominant position, and there was no recovering after that.
Yeah, I mean, he as soon as he caught him, as soon as he put him down, Zach just rushed in, overwhelmed him, and just started throwing him. And he did catch him with a couple shots on the ground and pound that. I mean, it was clearly done. Yeah. I mean, it was a good stoppage. There was nothing early, nothing questionable or controversial or nothing like that. It was clean. I think it was a good stoppage. Unfortunate for hometown fans to see that because like you were saying, Logan was winning that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, hands out. He was winning the fight, but in this sport, that's all it takes, man. One punch, you let your guard down for a second, and that's what happens, man. So. Well,
let's move on to the next one. Obviously, this one was
our co-main event.
Our co-main event, and we've been looking forward for Cody Stevens to cover him, for a while.
And there was already drama at weigh-ins going into this fight.
Yeah, let's start at weigh-ins. I'm going to bring this up. I know everyone that's involved is tired of hearing about it, but like let for the people who are not involved, who weren't there, this drama started to unfold like 24 hours prior to, maybe even 48 hours prior to professional weigh-ins. So we're talking like that Wednesday before weigh-ins, last week, where it was announced that Aaron Mitchell was coming in about 20 pounds over. This fight was originally supposed to take place at featherweight. They went ahead and Cody's camp, they talked, okay, we'll jump it up to lightweight.
Well, they wanted it to be at 160. That's what they offered. Can we fight at 160?
That's what Aaron's camp did.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's 160 from his side, and then they said no, and they went ahead and jumped up to lightweight. All right, so then we fast forward, we go to weigh-ins. Aaron Mitchell's 3 pounds over. He weighed in at 158. So Cody is like 149 and a half.
Right.
So they said no, he needs to lose it. And then there was the agreement they were trying to agree. He can't weigh 10 pounds heavier than Cody Stevens,
Right.
who weighed in at 149.5. So Aaron Mitchell couldn't weigh 159, over 159.5. Well, shows up at weigh-in Saturday for a second weigh-in. He's over.
Okay.
So it was just drama that was unfolding, and it was all weight. It was all weight related. And I mean, he wanted to weigh over 159 for the second weigh-in because he likes to weigh like 163 or something like that. But I mean, you got to think like this fight was supposed to be at 45, then they wanted at 60, then they agreed at 55 because Cody has fought at 55 before.
Right.
And so that fast forwarding now that the fight's over, all the drama has unfolded. There's a lot of bad blood right now.
No pun intended.
You know, Aaron Mitchell defeated Cody Stevens in round number 2 by doctor stoppage. And
Hematoma.
yeah, this hematoma was ugly, man.
Dude, I could not believe what I was watching the development of that hematoma. Okay, so he got caught by the elbow, and
followed by
a
flurry of punches that came in after that. It was a hard elbow too.
Well, he gets caught by the elbow, and then they go down to the ground, and they're moving around a lot, and I really couldn't see too much from where I was at. But within 5 to 6 minutes, that hematoma is just swelling up to where it looks like his eye is bulging out of his head.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I did not expect it to get to that point that fast. I mean, there was so much
round
blood.
number 1. Like I said, we'll start at round number 1. Cody Stevens does what Cody Stevens does. You know, he's a wrestler. He's a grinder.
Oh yeah, he goes right out.
Yeah, and that's what he did.
I was impressed with the scrambles though. Cody was grinding it out, but he was, you know, Aaron was making him work for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, the change of dominant position was way. I mean, if you blinked, it happened, and it happened that quick. And you know, Cody's always been one of those type of people that can make a transition really fast. But the way that you just said, Aaron Mitchell, he came around and was doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron was stronger. He was heavier.
That's true.
And
he's bigger.
And overall, he's bigger. But yeah, so like Cody did a good job at getting him to the ground. Yep. He did it. Cody did get caught. I don't know, it was a right or a left. He did get caught with a punch that cut him right above I think it was the left eye.
It was his right eye.
It was his left. It was
that's right.
He started bleeding on his left eye. But that's scar tissue and everything that Cody already has. That you flick him in that area and it's probably going to start bleeding. Right. So nothing to be concerned about. Cody, I think, you know, grinded out the round 1 win and went back to his corner. The doctor came in and checked him out. Nothing to be concerned about. They let it go. And then, yeah, it was Aaron. It was Aaron that got the takedown, and then followed up by a big elbow and a flurry of ground and pound. And then, yeah, you just happen to see, like, just that hematoma that formed over the right eye. So, yeah, he's already cut on his left. Now he's got the hematoma that's forming over the right eye, amongst other places that's swelling up around his face. And I mean, the doctor stopped it, man. The ref had enough. He was Cody was actually on the ground. He was facing us, and I mean, me and Jose, we looked and we were like, yeah, that's ugly, man.
He's gonna lose his eye if it wasn't stopped and it would have burst.
And that's what people need to understand. Okay, a lot of people need to understand that when you have a blood hematoma, and people in the fight game know, and that's why some people I'm kind of disappointed in, man. That's actively a part of the goddamn fight game. You guys know, and you people, you know who you are. That was acting like a fucking child at that damn after that fight. You guys know who you are. Okay, I mean, what would you have rather have? Your fighter lose or lose his sight? That blood hematoma pops and the blood drains in your eye, you're going to lose your vision. I don't care who you are, what you do, it's not worth losing your eyesight. And we just interviewed Cody too, and he's like, and I was asking him, when's enough enough? When's the body enough? When are you gonna be done? And he's like, as long as I'm improving, I'm not digressing. I don't care what my body says. I'm gonna keep going. Well, guess what? If you lose your fucking sight, you're not going to continue. So all the people that were like, bullshit, bullshit,
chanting bullshit on stage.
Yeah,
that's unacceptable. It's unprofessional. And you know what? Have some goddamn class. You know, yeah, we get it, guys. He came in heavy. Okay, he came in heavy. Whether it was a non-professional move or whatever. You know, an unprofessional move on Aaron Mitchell's part to come in heavy and all that shit.
But Cody Stevens agreed to it. They wanted to do the fight. So take it to a professional level.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They say, is it unprofessional to miss weight? Yes. But you took the fight. Cody could have said no. I didn't want. You know, I'm good. I don't want to take the fight. I mean, hell, we were talking about earlier how Cameron McIntosh was gonna not fight Dom Johns over like 3 pounds.
Right.
So you agreed to a fight against a guy who was like 20 pounds over the agreed weight to begin with. So you kind of have to take the consequence. Yeah, the doctor stopped it. It wasn't like a bad call. I'll post the pictures.
Dude,
right at this segment, segment in the podcast, I will post the pictures of Cody's face. And
not only that,
let you guys be the judge.
Not only that, but if when you guys do get to see the video of the actual whole fights, you can clearly see it. I mean, it's in high definition. I was watching it on the video monitors, and there was one point where I asked the videographer, I was like, "Is his eye bulging?" And I looked at it, and as soon as I said that, it got a clean shot of his whole frontal face.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't deny it, man. That freaking it looked like
it was bad. You can't like you can't let that fight continue.
No.
Okay, the call was good. I'll be the first one to and I've done it before. I'll be the first one to go, that's a bullshit doctor stoppage.
Well, not only that, because you've had a blood hematoma over your eye before. You know the repercussions. You know what could happen.
Yeah, and what happened? The doctor stopped it.
Exactly.
And mine wasn't as bad as Cody's.
No,
Cody's was bad. And I agree with the stoppage. I love Cody. I love this dude. He's a local legend. He's a grinder. I've never met anybody who can outwork that guy. He loves what he does. He does what he does with such passion. And he's with a hell of a camp right now. Do I agree with the stoppage? Yes. Am I sad about it? Absolutely. Do I think everyone fucking acted like children afterwards? Absolutely.
To go along with your legend of the area, I mean, look at the guy's record. It proves it. 14, 11, and 1 prior to this fight.
He just has a lot of fights.
He just has a lot of fights, but he's still doing it.
He's got international experience. He was in Thailand. He's fought. Look at the names. I mean, you can't judge by his record here. Look at the guys. Some of the guys that he's fought. You know, the dude's an animal. I love Cody. And dude, seriously, Cody, if you're watching him, I wish you the best of luck. Speedy recovery, and I can't wait to see you back in the cage, brother.
Right, definitely.
Live to fight another day seems to be like a theme for this card.
I mean, dude, when you're stacking a card the way that we have, I mean, Scott Corbin did a great job. He put everything out there. He showed what he's worth right away with everything that he was able to pull out of his ass.
He started matching this card like a couple months. I think he was matching this card before Honor 5. So,
I mean, we barely lost any fights.
We didn't lose any fights.
Right. Well, I'm talking about prior when he was stacking the card.
Right.
We only had to rematch a couple of fights. That was it.
He just kept adding them. And it's you want to typically add more fights than you want to have, because you expect a fight to fall off, and then the fight never fell off. So and it makes for some good entertainment, and we had all 16 fights on there, and hell yeah, man! I said props off to Scott Corbin, and I can't wait to see what he does on September 22nd, right?
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Mitchell, we appreciate everything that you did out there. You guys put on a hell of a fight.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from Aaron Mitchell.
Yeah, no,
I'm not saying that the only reason why he won that fight was because of the weight gain or anything like that. The dude's a hell of a fighter.
Yeah, he is.
Dude comes to bang. You know, I look forward to seeing him fight again as well. Aaron Mitchell might be a big name to see in the future as well, and Bellator, the UFC, and the higher ups, man.
Right.
Dude definitely can fight.
Yes.
I would if I was the only suggestion that I would have is make sure you cut weight or don't fight at 45.
Or at least say something to somebody.
I wouldn't mind trying to get him to rematch DeMonte.
That would be a hell of a fight, yeah. Because I mean, he went to a draw with DeMonte, So and DeMonte, I think he's willing to bang. You know, he's willing to bang it out. So
DeMonte, if that fight didn't happen, if he had some family stuff going on, was trying to stay ready to take that fight with Cody.
Wow.
So, but I think that rematch would be a great fight. And then what I was going to say about promotion-wise, being at the Nautica and the card that was put together,
Right.
that's probably the best show on any promotion that Corbin's ever done.
Yeah.
Like he had the most pressure on him.
Right.
There was way more to lose, and he killed it.
Right.
Right.
Let's go on to our main event. Norman, this is all you, bro, because I barely got to watch it because there was
This
so
is
much.
also after another like 25-minute pause at the
Right.
show.
So, unfortunately, Cody Stevens, he actually had to be rushed out via the EMS. At least we thought. Come to find out, they actually did not utilize the EMS. He actually just drove. They drove him there.
I think part of that he didn't want to hold up the show because his
Right.
teammate was fighting next too.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I love Cody, respect him.
Right.
You know, and he respects the promotions. That was
Exactly.
a favor. So
Right.
So we did our little interlude, and then interlude.
And that was the big thing, and I give my hats off to Cody, is that he could have easily said no to this fight, and he didn't, because if he did, it would have really hurt the promotion. So, like I said, respect. You know, nothing against Cody. I'm not saying nothing negative or negative about the guy, or not even about his opponent.
Right.
I'm more disappointed with the crowd. You know,
the crowd actually shows the same thing in the main event as well.
I get the little girls that are on stage yelling bullshit. I get it.
Right.
They don't understand. Move them aside. I'm talking about the motherfuckers that are fighters
in the business.
Yeah,
you know?
in the business, that are over there talking shit, dude. Like, come on, man.
Is it necessary? No. Do you find that to be a mental tactical advantage?
Threatening people's wives that are sitting below you on the floor.
Yeah.
Like,
Is that what was going on?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Like, it was.
Come to find out, Amber knew that guy's name, by the way.
They were just completely emotional and out of fucking control.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And it's just, you know, I'm sure certain people in that group wouldn't have appreciated if they had people at their promotion yelling and carrying on and acting a fucking fool. So whatever, man.
But you won't be able to see us doing that kind of stuff because we keep it low key and we keep it professional. So, moving on to Aleska Kamor and Marvin Skipper, guys.
This was very interesting. Marvin Skipper coming from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina,
bringing a big crew with him
too. Dude, he didn't bring. What do you mean? He didn't bring shit.
I guess he brought
his wife.
Yeah,
he brought Dave Graff. That's who he fucking brought, right?
Dave was
from
there.
the locker room to
okay,
the cage.
I guess I had it confused with his fans that he brought with him.
Marvin Skipper, he started his weight cut at 250 pounds, man. Talking to this guy, this guy's like seen it all, man. He's done it all, seen it all. He's a power lifter. He's veiny. He was in the first CrossFit Games, apparently.
I could see that.
Yeah, like this dude.
I could totally see that.
Ripped. He weighed in at 204 at professional weigh-ins. He was like 226 less than 24 hours prior to that.
I want to know where he took it off at.
The dude was probably like 240 easy for that fight when the fight actually took place.
Because you even said it. You even said it. He looks bigger now.
Yeah.
Just like
after talking to him,
deflated himself and then reinflated himself.
After talking to him, he like everything that he does. Because my biggest thing was like I thought he focused more on fitness than he did fighting. I thought he just fought. I thought he just trained fighting whenever he had a fight. Apparently not. Apparently he trains fighting all the time. And the fitness aspect, he trains everything that he does when he lifts weights is to complement what he does in the cage. So if he's doing like a bent over row, it's gonna help. If he's doing this shit, working the back muscles, it's to help with this lift. This dude can apparently.
So he's doing
I want to see a video of this, Marvin. But apparently this guy can deflate.
Please don't ask for a video of Marvin.
Apparently this guy can deflate a basketball and rear naked choke it until it pops. That's how strong this guy is. Like he can slightly deflate the basketball and then pop it. That's how strong. But he does every movement that he does is to complement movements in the cage. So talking to this guy, you're like, oh man, this is gonna be a fucking crazy fight, man. Aleska might be in trouble. Like, and then we get in there and then Aleska's hitting him with like crazy body shots,
Yeah.
looping left hand body to the body and to the liver, and it's like,
I'll tell you what, Aleska trained his ass off for this. He had to have, because the way he came out and the way that they started the whole match was 100% on a scale that I've never seen before. I mean, that kid was coming out there and throwing power hits left and right, and like
I'm pretty sure those weren't just power hit. Those just him punching. It was just him setting up. The little punches were just setting up for the big punches, and those big punches. You don't understand how hard Aleska hits until you see it up close. And I'm sure like his training partners and everybody at Strong Style knows how hard he really hits. But to someone who doesn't train with him, you don't understand how hard he actually hits until you see it up close. He was hitting them hard. I mean, the punches to the body is what really impressed me, though. I mean, he really made Marvin pay, to the point where, like, I mean, Marvin threw, I think, like 4 or 5 punches the entire fight.
Right.
And as soon as Aleska would come in, Marvin would cover up and back up against the cage, and he basically just let, at that point, just Aleska
It was
just
almost like
teeing off on him.
rope-a-dope. He was literally just like swing.
Right. I mean, now, don't get me wrong. Marvin ate a freaking huge right.
Yeah.
And when that happened, he ate it and then went up against the cage.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised to not see him fold in half.
Well, I mean, he
'Cause I heard it.
he eventually got hit with the knee that put him down on the ground, and that ultimately set up the end of the fight, because Aleska at that point would just jump on top of him and ground and pound until the referee pulls him out. But it was leading up to that point where Aleska was basically just teeing off. It's like every fighter's dream is to have their opponent cover up and lean up against the cage and just let him tee off.
So do you think that Marvin's game plan was to see if he could gas him out?
No, absolutely not.
No, like
So you don't
talking
think
to
that
him
at all?
before, like Marvin was saying, if he can get a hold of him and get him on the cage or on the ground, he's like, that's where I'm gonna win.
So
the
then
fight.
Aleska obviously knew that was his going.
I mean,
I trained for that.
Yeah.
I
Well, you see
expected
a
Marvin.
big, strong dude. Like if someone looks
Right.
big and strong, you don't want to be like, same thing. I want to test that. I'm gonna let him grab me,
Yeah, no.
pick him apart.
I mean, I almost expected Marvin to shoot in on Aleska once he started taking too many shots, and it just never happened. So I don't think it was in the game
Aleska
plan.
kept him at a pretty good distance, and he
Yeah, but
utilized
had
his
the
reach a lot.
He had the opportunity, especially when he'd lean up against the cage, and Aleska would come in to attack the body and basically just he was letting him tee off on him. That would have been the perfect opportunity to level change and shoot in to see.
I don't
see if he
think
could take
Marvin
him
was
to the ground,
expecting
so.
him to hit as hard as he was hitting.
Probably not. What was the? So I know Aleska gave a little shout out to like Forrest Pets. I didn't hear the whole thing. Did he train with Forrest, or was he just?
He was
using
saying
those body
that,
shots like
well, no,
Forrest
he
used
was
to.
saying that you'll hear it in the post-fight interview that he was happy that he had grown up coming to the NAAFS shows.
Oh, yeah, he
Fight Night in
watched
the
it.
Flats, and he had watched some of the great fighters that have come out of this area, like Forrest Pets and all those guys, and now he's the main event at.
And he was,
so
and he
real
said,
humble about
yeah,
it.
he was real humble about being able to be on that kind of a stage platform, and the kid has got just the best personality. He comes in, he's not arrogant, he's not anything more than just, I want to come in, I want to get this job done and see where I go. And I see him going somewhere.
Oh,
I
yeah,
see him
he's-
going somewhere fast.
He's gonna go, yeah.
And he's got himself with the
AJ
perfect freaking fight team for it.
Yeah, him and AJ are definitely they're
there's,
going, man.
We're not going to see him very much longer in the
Yeah,
amateur.
they might have
or in
one,
the,
maybe 2 fights with
local
with
area.
us if they're there. But other than that, there's 1 or 3 places they're going.
I would
Right.
definitely suggest that Honor they don't put all their money into these guys.
Yeah,
Like
'cause if
get
they
them while they're hot, but you don't want to build your economical plan around Aleska or AJ, some of these
Right.
guys that are basically on their way out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of
Yeah.
like how the NAAFS did with Stipe and Jessica I. They were like they're big sellers, but
Then
they
they got
were
yanked
also
right up.
amateurs when they started with the promotion, and they built years of this fan
Right.
base, and then finally, they ended up, so when they did finally leave the promotion suffered. You don't want to do that with these guys. I wouldn't. Yeah, you don't want to build like an economical plan around,
especially
these.
when they've. It's not their pro debut.
Right.
They're already established, so
they're being scouted right now, and it's very noticeable.
And what we're trying to do is, we're trying to build our own amateurs.
Right.
Get these guys fighting, promote them, build them up to hopefully go pro.
Exactly.
Learn how to sell tickets, learn how to promote yourself, do all that.
Learn how to do a good interview.
And that'll come. We'll work with them with that. But but then once they get to the point where if they go pro, then it's a different kind of building then.
Right.
They can be more self-efficient on their marketing and all this, and then if they're in a commercial or whatever, set up podcasts, interviews. That's the pro side. Mm-hmm. The amateur side, you gotta concentrate on yourself.
Right.
Let the promotion put you on and promote you. All you gotta do is sell tickets.
Right.
Show up, make weight, sell tickets.
Yep. That's the professional side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, guys, that's it for the show. If you've made it this far, thank you. Yeah, this is like one of our. This is probably the longest show that we've had.
It is the longest show.
We were planning on having beers, but we didn't buy any.
Look, I was up at. Okay, yeah, I forgot.
We all were.
Yeah, we all were. But no, definitely thank you. Shout out to everybody that made this event possible. Savage Promotions, I believe.
Savage Multimedia Group.
Savage Multimedia Group. I apologize. Thank you so much. You guys put on a great show while we were out there. You guys do a great job with what you do. So thank you for everything that we talked about. Nautica Pavilion, Jacob's Pavilion at Nautica.
Took care of us extremely well.
Yes.
They helped us out a lot yesterday.
And then, of course, Jeremy Caudell Promotions for making this all a thing. Thank you so much. Norm, you have a few things to say thank you for?
Nope, I don't have anything to thank.
No, shut the hell up.
No, man,
you guys thank me.
Yeah, U.S. Bank of me.
You guys can thank me. Bringing my...
Wow, you are so freaking...
No, you covered everything.
No, we didn't. I left 3 of them out.
Who the hell did you leave out?
Thank you, everybody, for Fight.tv, even though things... No, I'm just kidding.
Fight.tv. Yeah.
That's a new one. Don Lickey, Alternate Fight Gear, he was up there.
Was he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to walk around too much.
I did. I not walk.
Do you want to thank the ice vendor? No, I'm just kidding. No. So
Mike Mercer,
yes.
Shout out. He helped us out a lot yesterday too. Who else we got? Scott
Corbin.
Of course.
Couldn't have made it happen without you, bro. Thank you so much. You did a hell of a fucking job. You couldn't have asked.
He might get this back-to-back award.
Oh, it's already happened. It's already happened. We already know.
Nah, guys. Like I said, stay tuned the next couple weeks of podcasts. We're going to hope we can start piecing together a fight card to start talking about the September 22nd show. But, again, thanks for tuning in.